dampers, you know, I think a lot of people wind up with dampers in their home for zoning systems, and they never really understand that there are huge differences in dampers. This is our Super Duty damper, our most popular damper, with a true Belimo commercial grade actuator, Belimo being one of the leading manufacturers of commercial damper motors. When we say commercial, it's sitting on a half-inch drive shaft. It's riding on Durazone hardware set in bronze bushes. You can see the size of the shaft coming out the other side, and it is a very thick sheet metal that you can see while I'm pushing very hard, it's barely flexing at all. These are tough dampers, and we sell these for about the same price as what we call residential grade dampers. The way we do that, we build the entire damper here. We do not go through wholesale distribution. We don't have reps. All the normal ways that the cost of a damper keeps going up and up and up and up. Sometimes we hear of consumers paying perhaps $250 for a damper that we sell at the consumer level for $99. 5-year warranty on it. It's the best deal in America on dampers, and again, that's because we go direct. Now, give you an idea, this is an old Interstat damper, which is comparable, and I'm using an Interstat damper because they're no longer in business and don't want to hurt anybody's feelings on this, but this is very typical. This is a Syncron, what's called a Syncron motor. It is a spring return damper. This is about the cheapest way to possibly build a damper. If you could look in here, the reason this is in the junk pile is because it's broken. It actually has plastic bushings, plastic and nylon bushings. There are no bronze bushings. There's not even a damper shaft in here. This is what you get when you try to build a damper the cheapest way possible, so that by the time it goes through several levels of markup, it can still be sold at a price that is deemed saleable. Take a look at the different motors here. If we had this operating right now, this motor, if it had sat there for about an hour, it'd be so hot you couldn't even touch it. That's how a spring return motor works. It actually runs the damper blade to the closed position, and then that motor continues to draw power. This, on the other hand, after being hooked up all night, you can't even feel it's warm because it depowers itself. So it stops pulling energy, and you go, well, how much could that little motor use? If you have 5 or 6 of them in a house, it can use certainly some energy, but the bigger factor is the durability of the motor. Obviously, a motor like this that's sitting there cooking in a 130-degree attic, that damper motor temperature can hit 150, 160 degrees. That's why we replace a lot of damper motors like that, and that's why it's important to use what we call a 3-wire damper that powers itself open, powers itself closed, but then doesn't pull power. Lots of differences between what you get on dampers in terms of the durability. Another big advantage I don't think people understand on this damper, it's on a standard half-inch drive shaft. And what that really means is, if a new system comes out 5 years from now, this motor comes right off. You unbolt 2 screws, and you can put a host of different, this is a Honeywell ML6161 actuator, goes right on the same. In other words, this is a universal commercial setup. Will take virtually any damper motor made. You never have to change this part. That's a few differences. I hear I'm running out of time. I could talk for a lot longer because there are so many differences between really true commercial grade dampers and old residential grade dampers that are built cheap and look like it once you really start looking at it. If this had been in your home, you wouldn't have changed out that motor. You would have had to rip the duct system apart, changed out the whole can. It does make a difference. Take a look at our SD dampers. Thank you.